Page 1, questions 1 through 6. Question 1. The efficiency of the refrigerant cycle is affected by the operation of the condenser. Of the following, a more efficient centrifugal compressor operation results from lowering the condensing pressure. Lowering the condensing pressure will result in a more efficient centrifugal compressor operation. Question 2. The heat removed from the refrigerant in a condenser is sensible and latent heat. The heat removed from the refrigerant in a condenser is sensible and latent heat. Question 3. The refrigerant unit that you have been assigned to is being taken out of service for a major repair. You have been assigned to withdraw refrigerant for storage in suitable containers. According to the New York City Fire Code, you must ensure that the containers are approved by the U.S. Department of Transportation. The refrigerant you withdraw must be stored and contained approved by the U.S. Department of Transportation. Question 4. Which of the following best describes how the cylinder unloader works? Keeping the suction valve opened while the compressor is in the return stroke. The cylinder unloader works by keeping the suction valve opened while the compressor is in the return stroke. Question 5. In most semi-hermetic compressors, the suction vapor is used to cool the motor. In most semi-hermetic compressors, the suction vapor is used to cool the motor. Question 6. The amount of refrigerant that flows through the orifices of an economizer is determined by the difference between the high side and low side pressure. The amount of refrigerant that flows through the orifices of an economizer is determined by the difference between the high side and low side pressure. Page 2, questions 7 through 13. Question 7. The installation of an inline refrigerant cleaning system is advisable to remove impurities from the system. Installing an inline refrigerant cleaning system removes impurities. Question 8. The type of refrigerant system that is least likely to leak refrigerant into the building spaces that are being cooled is the indirect system. The indirect system is the type of refrigerant system least likely to leak refrigerant into the building space being cooled. Question 9. The suction pressure of a reciprocating compressor is 65 psig. The discharge pressure of this compressor is 120 psig. The atmospheric is 14.7 pounds per square inch. The compression ratio for the given condition is closest to 1.69. The compression ratio is close to 1.69 when the suction pressure of a reciprocating compressor is 65 psig, discharge pressure is 120 psig, and atmospheric pressure is 14.7 pounds per square inch. Question 10. A superheated vapor is a dry vapor above the saturation temperature. A superheated vapor is a dry vapor above the saturation temperature. Question 11. A refrigerant engineer verifies that a condenser water pump is cavitating. Of the following, the most likely cause for this condition is a faulty cooling tower water level controller. If a condenser water pump is cavitating, the most likely cause is a faulty cooling tower water level controller. Question 12. A centrifugal water pump is known as a lift pump when the water supply to the pump suction inlet is below the pump level. When the water supply to the pump suction inlet is below the pump level, it is known as a lift pump. Question 13. A TXV is used to maintain constant evaporator superheat. A TXV is used to maintain constant evaporator superheat. Page 3, questions 14 through 20. Question 14. The chilled water supply to the building is 55 degrees Fahrenheit. If the chiller is being used for human comfort, should you be concerned about this, and why? Yes, this temperature is too high for human comfort. A chilled water supply at 55 degrees Fahrenheit is too high for human comfort. Question 15. The packing gland of a centrifugal pump serves to The drip part of the packing gland gives evidence that there is water in the pump. The packing gland serves to show that there is water in the pump. Question 16. Capacity control of a reciprocating hermetic compressor is typically achieved through operation of the hot gas bypass valve. The hot gas bypass valve is used to achieve capacity control of a reciprocating hermetic compressor. Question 17. The most important reason to subcool the refrigerant in the condenser is to ensure that a pure liquid refrigerant will enter the metering device. Subcooling the refrigerant in the condenser is important to ensure that pure liquid refrigerant will enter the metering device. Question 18. A refrigeration engineer is logging readings from a reciprocating system. Compressor discharge temperatures have dropped significantly and the suction line pressure is high. Which of the following may be causing this set of conditions? An expansion valve that is open too wide. A drop in compressor discharge temperature along with high suction line pressure could mean an expansion valve is open too wide. Question 19. A low side float valve is used to maintain the level of refrigerant in the evaporator. A low side float valve maintains the level of refrigerant in the evaporator. Question 20. Regarding fire safety, which ASHRAE refrigerant safety classification indicates no flammability and lower toxicity? A1. An A1 refrigerant safety classification indicates no flammability and lower toxicity. Page 4, questions 21 through 27. Question 21. When an expansion valve is operating properly, at the end of the evaporator will contain only superheated vapor. When an expansion valve operates properly, only superheated vapor will be at the end of the evaporator. Question 22. What information is not contained in a material safety data sheet? The cost of the material. MSDS does not contain prices of materials. Question 23. In a steam turbine, what is the function of the Kingsbury thrust bearing? Maintain the axial positioning of the rotor shaft. The Kingsbury thrust bearing maintains axial positioning of the rotor shaft in a steam turbine. Question 24. A centrifugal water pump is considered to be fully primed when the pump is full of liquid. When the pump is full of liquid, a centrifugal water pump is considered to be fully primed. Question 25. Copper tubing refrigerant lines must be installed for a new system. It is a well-known service practice that tubing collapses at bends that must be made. The refrigerant engineer should use a lever-type tubing bender. Because copper tubing refrigerant lines tend to collapse at bends that must be made, the refrigerant engineer should use a lever-type tubing bender to install copper tubing for a new system. Question 26. A reciprocating compressor is making a knocking sound during operation. If the refrigerant-worn parts are not causing a knocking, what is probably the cause? The slugging of the liquid refrigerant. If the refrigerant-worn parts are not the cause of a knocking sound during operation of a reciprocating compressor, slugging of the liquid refrigerant is probably the cause. Question 27. In order for a refrigerant to become superheated, it must be heated in a section of the low-side refrigerant line where no liquid refrigerant is present. There must be no liquid refrigerant present in a section of the low-side refrigerant line for the refrigerant to become superheated. Page 5, questions 28 through 33. Question 28. All liquid has been recovered from a system to be overhauled. The system should not be opened until all vapor has been recovered. When all liquid has been recovered from a system to be overhauled, the system should not be opened until all vapor has been recovered as well. Question 29. When a refrigerant engineer uses a portable compressor recovery unit to remove vapor refrigerant from a refrigeration system, the removal rate of the refrigerant will gradually slow down because the vapor density is decreasing. When vapor is being removed from a refrigeration system, the removal rate will gradually slow down as vapor density decreases. Question 30. You are the engineer running a 2,000-ton, steam-driven turbine centrifugal refrigeration system. That system supplies chilled water to a college campus with multiple buildings. During the course of making your rounds, you check the 9-cell cooling tower on the roof. You note the water level in all of the cooling tower cells is very low. Which one of the following immediate actions would you take? Add additional makeup water to the cooling tower. If the water level in all cooling tower cells is very low, you would immediately add additional makeup water to the cooling tower. Question 31. A rooftop water cooling tower is connected to a water pump in the building basement with a 12-inch diameter pipe. With the pump turned off, a pressure gauge at the pump's inlet shows a pressure of 140 psig. The height of the water column, in feet, would be closet to 323. A water pump with a 12-inch diameter pipe, with 140 psig pressure gauge reading when the pump is off, would have a water column height around 323. Question 32. What device protects the steam turbine from excessive speed? Governor Assembly. The governor assembly protects the steam turbine from excessive speed. Question 33. A refrigeration compressor has failed to turn on. The refrigeration engineer on duty verifies that the electrical circuit to the motor, including AL switches and circuit breakers, is complete according to recommended service practice. The next item to be checked would likely be the temperature and pressure controls. If a refrigeration compressor has failed to turn on and the engineer has already checked all switches and circuit breakers and verified that the electrical circuit to the motor is complete, the next item to check would be the temperature and pressure controls.